Assalamu Allah, Assalamu alaikum, Shalom, Hotep, peace, peace, peace on these streets. I'm your brother in the struggle, brother minister Alif Allah, and today we're deciphering in the cipher Genesis chapter 6 decoded. There is a lot of spookism regarding the angels in Genesis chapter 6 and how, the short version in the link I'll give you the actual quote from the scripture, but the short version is, in the Bible, it teaches that the angels of God, known as the sons of man, or the Nephilim, giants, whatever nomenclature or scientific terminology you want to utilize, but for the sake of argument, these angels of heaven, they saw the women on earth that they were fair or attractive or beautiful, and they came down to earth and they sired children with earth women. Now a lot of people will be like, they were aliens, they were UFOs, they were mystical beings, or whatever. Now I mean, the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad takes away all of the spookism, all of the mythology, all of the tricknology. Now, I mean, these angels that came down and mated with these mortal women and produced children that were giants or Nephilim, or they were powerful. Now, I mean, a lot of stuff get lost in translation. A lot of stuff get mistranslated, misunderstood, misinterpreted, and misapplied in various ways because they take away the culture of the people. And you have to understand the basic premise of Scripture. Genesis is the book of Genesis. It's the book of genes, is the book of origins, the book of genetics. Now, I mean, it did not come from a mystery God. See, when you start your premise with a mystery God, you psychologically, intuitively include mystery angels, mystery demons, mystery heavens, mystery hells. So the stuff come out all spooked all over the place. Now, I mean, now you got aliens coming down, mixing that DNA with human beings to produce that mystery God's children. It's like, come on with the spooky stuff. I mean, the truth is just too corny. I mean, the truth is just too simple. It's just too plain. But we got to stick with the facts. We got to stick with the reality, the hawk. Basically, what you have here, when you read Genesis chapter 6, you're basically talking about the angels of God. Now, I mean, the angels of God, when you read in the scriptures, talk about they were powerful and giants. It's like us in this day and time saying that somebody is rich and politically connected. They like the mafia. Now I mean, they like Jay-Z. Now I mean, they got juice. I mean, but they were men, and these black men had sex with the white women that came from the Caucasus Mountains, and they produced hybrid human beings on Earth. That's simple. And these children were cool. They were, healthy, but they had the mixed DNA of the dominant and recessive genes. Their genesis, or their origin, was a mixture of black and white. The whole spark of the Nation of Islam was from the genetic mixing of the black original man mixing with a pure white woman to produce our Savior, Master Fard Muhammad, to whom all praises are due forever. We call it integration today, cross species, whatever term you want to use. But when you have a dominant recessive gene, or a black man and a white woman, or a black goddess and a white mortal man, they would write it in Hebrew and Aramaic and the ancient cuneiform type languages in a way that the people at their time understood it. But there's absolutely nothing spooky about the scriptures. Peace, family. The struggle continues. in the Bible, in the book of Genesis, chapter 6, we read about human affairs. Let's look at what the Bible has to say in a meaning. Let's turn to the book of Genesis, chapter 6. It reads in verse 1, when human beings began to increase in number on the earth, and daughters were born to them, the sons of God saw that the daughters of humans were beautiful, and they married any of them they chose. Then the Lord said, my spirit will not contend with humans forever, for they are mortal. Their days will be 120 years. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterward, when the sons of God went to the daughters of humans and had children by them. They were the heroes of old, men of renown. Verse 5. The Lord saw how great the wickedness of the human race had become on the earth, and that every inclination of the thoughts of the human heart was only evil all the time. The Lord regretted that he had made human beings on the earth, and his heart was deeply troubled. So the Lord said, I will wipe from the face of the earth the human race I have created, and with them the animals, the birds, and the creatures that move along the ground, for I regret that I have made them. But Noah found favor in the eyes of the Lord. So here we have an interesting and often misinterpreted portion of the scriptures. When we look at Messenger Elijah Muhammad's teachings, specifically in Message to the Black Man in America, the book of Genesis, or the book of genes, the book of genetics, the book of origins makes rational, practical, and scientific sense. Chapter 6, verse 1, when human beings began to increase in number on the earth, and daughters were born to them, the sons of God saw that the daughters of human were beautiful, and they married any of them they chose. Then the Lord said, my spirit will not contend with humans forever, for they are mortal. Their days will be 120 years. Here we basically see a oral tradition passed down and codified or written not by a mystery God, but by the culture of Black people. Our lessons teaches us that the Holy Quran or Bible is made by the original people, who is Allah, the supreme being or Black man of Asia. The giants that have this power is not talking anything spooky, but it's talking about powerful, strong, intelligent, dominant, righteous Black men having sex with white women and producing a mulatto strain in the human family. This is how Master Fard Muhammad was born, from a Black man and a white woman. The giants refer to people, not myths. So in Genesis chapter 6, we have a unique situation here. Here we have a dichotomy in the church. The Catholics and the Christians for over 2,000 years now have been arguing over, can angels mate with mortals? Can the angels of God have sex with women on the planet Earth? And if so, these children, Nephilim, the giants, how does these giants come out? And this is why you find in the biblical text things like David versus Goliath. And, like Goliath is like 9 feet tall or whatever. You know what I mean? And you have people I call them people that's misinterpreting or intentionally trying to deceive the public. But you have people that say they found these giant skeletons that's supposed to be 16 feet tall, saying basically that it was giants on Earth. Now, they are giant people, giant human beings. There are people. Me and my wife, we went. Where did we go? To Florida. Where did we see that giant statue? What's the name of that museum? Museum, something. I forgot the name of it. Yeah. Anyway, we went down Orlando, Florida before, and then Orlando, Florida.
Ripley's Believe It or Not.
Yeah, it was Ripley's Believe It or Not Museum. And then Ripley Believe It or Not Museum. In fact, I used to always read the Ripley Believe It or Not book. Love that book. But they even had them in there. But I got to see the actual statue, and I'm 6'1". I mean, and this guy's a giant. Like if I was living back in his time, I'd be like, man, he's a giant. But when I say he's a giant, I wouldn't be saying he's a giant like magically. I'd just be like, he's a giant like LeBron James is a giant. There's a whole bunch of NBA giants. Now I mean, compared to everything's relative. If you're 5 feet, 6 feet, now I mean, some people consider me tall. I'm 6'1". Now I mean, I'm above average. Now I mean, but at the same time, there are people way taller than me. Now I mean, so seeing someone 7, 8, 9 feet tall, you'd be like, man, I could see how people thousands of years ago would interpret that and write about that in cuneiform and Aramaic and Hebrew texts or what have you on parchment, on leather, carved in stone, whatever. Now I mean, and then it get reinterpreted and translated and shared in oral traditions about the situation. Go from this country to this country. I could see how people would think that it's something spooky, even though it's nothing spooky. It is something true. It's most myths are based on some truth. Now I mean, it's just that a lot of people take the mythology literally. Now I mean, you can't take the myths as though they're actual facts, in my opinion. I mean, but these Nephilim, these giants. I mean, it's like I'm 6'1". I have a living nephew, not a Nephilim, but I have a nephew, my sister's son in my family line, and he's way taller than me. He's shout out to Mikey. I mean, but he's if a person was 5 feet looking at him, they'd be like, man, he's a giant. You know what I mean? Big, strong, muscle, young boy. You know what I mean? But at the same time, it's nothing spooky about it. Now I mean, his DNA is the DNA of his father and his mother. You know what I mean? And that DNA is the DNA of their father and mother. So when we read in Genesis chapter 6 and we hear about these angels mating with women and producing these powerful, strong men and women, because women can be tall too. You know what I mean? Women can be strong too. You know what I mean? Women can be strong physically. I've seen women, I personally know women that lift more weights than me. You know what I mean? You got female athletes in the Olympics, they lift weights. You'd be like, man, this girl just lift a ton. You know what I mean? So you have strong women, but I'm not just saying that's the proper interpretation. I'm saying that when you have women and men that are strong mentally, intellectually, you know what I mean, and they're teaching magic, when you hear that they're teaching magic, what they're really teaching is not black magic, but black technology, black information, black facts, black sciences of life. The 5% are the poor righteous teachers who do not believe in the teachings of the 10%. The rich, the slave makers of the poor, because there's black magic and there's white magic. White magic or evil magic is not spooky. Evil magic is Eurocentric technology, information, the misuse of Chinese gunpowder and muskets and used for killing when they was using it for spiritual purposes and to celebrate their holidays and to recognize the universe for what it is. And I mean, you know, you could take and use that information and make you an atomic bomb and drop it on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and those people be like, yo, these people just blew up our city. And if someone in the future was trying to understand what was happening, they would say that was evil. Now, I mean, you know, if someone 1,000, 5,000, 10,000 years in the future came across old newspaper articles in Time magazine or something, and they was trying to read about, like, oh, it was these evil Muslims that crashed into these giant towers in New York City on 9/11, they may misunderstand it, but when they see historians and newscasters and the everyday common person talking about that event, it makes perfect sense to us because we experienced it. But the people in the distant past or the people in the distant future, they haven't experienced it. So it'd be hard to comprehend what we really meant. Now, I mean, in this day and time when we talk about these types of things, now, I mean, but one of the things that you have to look at is you know, a contradiction in Buddhism or spookism or tricknology to me when I find our Christian brothers and sisters saying that, oh no, the angels couldn't get the women pregnant because, you know what I mean, that's not impossible, that's not biblical. Genesis chapter 6 don't mean that, this, that, and the other. But the same people will tell you that they don't believe an angel can get a woman pregnant, but they do believe that God got Mary pregnant. If God got Mary pregnant and Jesus wasn't a giant, he wasn't a Nephilim, if Jesus came out as a man, why couldn't an angel get Mary pregnant and the baby come out as a man? The Holy Quran teaches us that the angel came to Mary in the form of a well-made man. He was a human being. I ain't gonna say he, I don't want to confuse. I'm not saying like that angel was a human being. I'm trying to get you to understand all angels are human beings. All demons are human beings. You saying there's no such thing as a ghost or spooky spirits? No, not like that. Human beings have holy intellect. They have righteous ideas. Human beings have wicked, evil ideas. They are dominant and recessive thoughts. We can think, and you can't physically see the thought, but that thought can manifest a word, and that word can have a negative consequence. And it's not about sticking pins and dials and all the symbolic rituals and things of that nature there, but it's based on reality. Everything is based on truth. It's just our misinterpretation and misunderstanding about these angels getting these women pregnant. Now, I mean, what we're really talking about is intelligent, powerful, melanated human beings integrating with Europeans coming from the Caucasus Mountains, and these people that's melanated living in regions where it's warm and there's plenty of food. They don't have to hunt and gather food. They don't have to fight off the elements like that. So they can focus on other things. They can focus on intellectual, spiritual things. But those that's, you know, every day is a struggle. Now, I mean, the first law of survival is self-preservation, so they struggling to eat. Now, I mean, so the fusion of those two cultures and the writings from those two cultures is what can confuse people and make them think that it was something spooky going on. But actually, it was just like it is in this modern day and time. Now, I mean, you know, you got the poor, you got the rich. You got the educated, you got the uneducated. You got those that go to school and go to work, and you got those that go out and hustle. You know what I mean? You got those that live above ground and those that live underground. You know what I mean? So that dichotomy. Now, I mean, if a person got shot in this day and time, and he got shot in the head, now, I mean, and they had some type of super fast thing they called the ambulance, and they rushed them to this big building, and this God came out dressed up inside of a doctor's uniform, and he took all these silver shiny looking instruments, and he cut open his body and poured some magic in there and sprinkled some stuff and took some stuff and took out the bullet and sewed the man up, and the man healed up. If we don't understand the science of what's really happening, that we looking at an operation, we're looking at surgery, I mean, you know, anesthesia, I mean, we don't understand bacteria, and I mean, infections and things, it may not make sense to us, I mean, but it's nothing spooky but our misinterpretations and misunderstandings about these angels getting these women pregnant in Genesis chapter 6.